Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. What is the one thing that separates the dreamers from the doers, the starters from the finishers, the ones who talk about success from the ones who actually live it? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not even motivation because all of those can fade. The answer is discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that doesn't shout, but it shows up every single day. It doesn't care about how you feel in the moment. It doesn't wait for the perfect time. It simply demands action, and that action transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. This is not just another motivational talk. This is a message that can change the way you see your goals, your struggles, and your future. Because once you understand why discipline wins over everything, you'll stop waiting for the right moment, and you'll start creating it. You'll realize that consistency, focus, and resilience are not gifts given to a lucky few. They are choices available to anyone willing to commit. So I invite you to stay with me until the very end of this speech, because what you're about to hear might be the spark that shifts your mindset forever. If you've ever felt stuck, distracted, unmotivated, or ready to give up, this message is for you. By the time we're done, you'll see why discipline is not just a habit, it's the ultimate weapon for success, and it belongs to you the moment you decide to claim it. Now, let's begin. Discipline builds consistency because it becomes the steady foundation on which all progress is built. Motivation can get you started, but it's discipline that keeps you moving when the excitement fades, when the crowd isn't cheering, and when the results aren't showing up as quickly as you'd like. Consistency is not about doing something once in a while. It's about showing up every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Think about the great athletes, the skilled musicians, the successful entrepreneurs. None of them became who they are by doing the work only when inspiration struck. They became masters of their craft because discipline drove them to be consistent with their effort. When you are disciplined, you don't wait for the right mood or the perfect moment. You create those moments through repetition, through structure, and through a refusal to quit when it's inconvenient. Consistency is a force multiplier. A single action may not change your life, but repeated daily actions compounded over time will. The person who wakes up early every day to exercise may not notice a difference after a week, but after months and years, their health, energy, and confidence are transformed. A student who dedicates an hour each day to learning doesn't suddenly become a genius overnight, but after a year of disciplined study, they are miles ahead of where they started. The employee who consistently works with focus and discipline will eventually outperform the naturally talented but inconsistent colleague. Consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be, and that bridge is built brick by brick, day after day, through discipline. What makes consistency powerful is that it doesn't depend on how you feel in the moment. Feelings are temporary. Discipline is permanent. One day you'll feel tired, another day you'll feel uninspired, and sometimes you'll even feel like giving up altogether. Discipline steps in and says, do it anyway. That is how consistency is born. That is how habits are formed and habits become character. Consistency turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results. Truth is, most people quit not because they can't achieve something, but because they lack the discipline to stay consistent long enough to see it through. If you can master the art of showing up every day, no matter what, discipline will carry you further than motivation ever could. Discipline shapes character because it requires you to make choices that go against comfort, against temptation, and against the easy path. Character is not built in the moments when everything is smooth. It is built in the silent battles you fight when no one is watching. Discipline is the voice inside that tells you to get up when the alarm rings, to stay focused when distractions are pulling you in every direction, and to keep your word even when it would be easier to break it. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you are strengthening your character, building a version of yourself that can be trusted, relied upon, and respected. Talent may get people's attention, but character earns their trust, and trust is only formed when discipline is consistent in your actions. Character is like a muscle, and discipline is the weight that strengthens it. Each time you resist the urge to quit, each time you follow through on a commitment, each time you control your emotions when you could have lost your temper, you are adding layers to who you are. People often look at success from the outside and see confidence, skill, or intelligence, but underneath all of that lies discipline. Without it, even the most gifted person will crumble when pressure comes. With it, even the average individual can rise above challenges and prove unstoppable. Discipline teaches patience, and patience molds humility. It forces you to delay gratification, which in turn creates resilience. These qualities become the essence of your character, and once they are ingrained, they guide your decisions in every part of life. A disciplined person does not bend with every storm, because their character is rooted in principles rather than feelings. They don't make excuses, they take responsibility. They don't chase shortcuts, they embrace the process. This is what sets them apart in a world where most people want immediate results without enduring the grind. Discipline shapes you into someone who can be trusted with responsibility, because people know that you will stand firm when it matters most. When character is strong, temptations lose their power, fear loses its grip, and doubt loses its influence. Discipline does not just help you achieve external goals, it transforms who you are on the inside. It refines your values, your work ethic, and your integrity until your very presence reflects strength and reliability. In the end, it is not just about what you achieve with discipline, but about who you become because of it. Discipline outlasts talent because talent alone is never enough to guarantee success. The world is full of gifted people who started strong but never finished because they relied only on their natural ability and neglected discipline. Talent can get you noticed, it can open doors, but if you don't have the discipline to work hard, stay consistent, and improve when no one is clapping for you, those doors will eventually close. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't fade. It doesn't depend on luck. It is a decision you make daily, a habit you build over time, and a commitment that carries you further than talent ever could. Talent may give you a head start, but discipline is what ensures you cross the finish line. When you look at the most successful people in any field, you quickly realize that discipline is what sustains their greatness. A talented athlete who skips practice will eventually be surpassed by a less talented player who trains with discipline every single day. A gifted student who relies only on intelligence but never studies will eventually fall behind the disciplined learner who puts in steady effort. A naturally skilled speaker, artist, or leader will only remain relevant if discipline drives them to keep sharpening their craft. Without discipline, talent stagnates. With discipline, even limited talent grows into mastery. Discipline also teaches humility, because it reminds you that no matter how gifted you are, there is always room for growth. Talent can make you confident, but discipline keeps you grounded and hungry. It forces you to repeat the basics, to perfect the small details, and to put in the hours that others overlook. While talent may give the illusion of ease, discipline embraces the grind. And it is in the grind that true excellence is forged. Talent is a gift, but discipline is a choice. And choices are far more powerful than gifts because they are in your control. The truth is, talent can take you to the spotlight, but without discipline, you won't stay there. Talent can impress people once, but discipline will earn their respect for a lifetime. The world doesn't remember those who started strong and faded away. It remembers those who showed up day after day, proving that consistency, perseverance, and commitment always win in the long run. That is why discipline outlasts talent, because talent might shine for a moment, but discipline shines forever. Discipline breeds focus because it trains the mind to block out distractions and concentrate energy on what truly matters. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Social media, endless notifications, constant noise, and temptations that promise quick pleasure but steal long-term progress. Without discipline, the mind jumps from one thing to another, never giving full attention to a single goal. And as a result, potential remains wasted. Focus is not something that simply happens. It is created through discipline. When you are disciplined, you learn to say no to the unnecessary, no to the urgent but unimportant, and no to the impulses that pull you away from your vision. That repeated choice to stay on track sharpens your focus like a blade, cutting through confusion and indecision. Discipline also creates structure, and structure directs attention. A person without discipline may start a task with enthusiasm, but quickly lose concentration when challenges arise. A disciplined person stays locked in, committed to finishing regardless of difficulty. Over time, this practice of bringing the mind back to the task builds an unshakable ability to focus, even under pressure. That kind of focus is rare, but it is what separates achievers from dreamers. A dream without focus is only a wish, but discipline turns focus into a weapon that drives action and results. Consider the way discipline works in the lives of great achievers. The writer who commits to writing daily, regardless of inspiration, develops the focus to finish a book. The athlete who trains repeatedly builds the focus to execute under pressure. The entrepreneur who disciplines their time learns to focus on growth instead of distractions. These examples show that focus is not about intensity for one moment. It is about sustained attention over time, and that is only possible through discipline. Without discipline, focus gets scattered. You might chase 10 things at once and achieve none. With discipline, you narrow your energy, channeling it into one clear direction, and that concentrated force creates breakthroughs. A magnifying glass can set paper on fire when it channels sunlight into one point. In the same way, discipline channels your energy and creates a fire of focus that burns through obstacles. When you live with discipline, you stop reacting to distractions and start acting with intention. That's how discipline breeds focus, and focus transforms effort into lasting achievement. Discipline conquers failure because it changes the way you respond when life knocks you down. Failure is not the end. It is only a temporary stop on the road to success. But most people quit when they stumble, letting failure define them. Discipline refuses to accept that outcome. Discipline teaches you that setbacks are lessons, not limits. It gives you the strength to rise again when the easy choice would be to give up. Every time you fall and get back up, your resilience grows stronger, and that resilience is born from discipline. It reminds you that success is never about never failing. It is about never staying down. When you are disciplined, failure becomes fuel. Instead of seeing it as a wall that blocks you, you see it as a stepping stone that prepares you. The disciplined student who fails an exam doesn't surrender to defeat. They study harder and return stronger. The disciplined athlete who loses a game doesn't quit the sport. They train more relentlessly until they win. The disciplined entrepreneur who faces rejection doesn't abandon their vision. They refine their ideas and push forward. Discipline transforms failure from something that breaks you into something that builds you. What makes discipline so powerful against failure is that it strips away excuses. Without discipline, failure feels final because it gives you a reason to stop trying. With discipline, you don't hide behind excuses. You take responsibility, you adapt, and you move forward. This attitude turns failure into a teacher. Every mistake becomes information, every setback becomes preparation, and every rejection becomes redirection. Discipline gives you the patience to endure the process, knowing that greatness is forged in struggle, not comfort. The truth is, no one succeeds without failure. The difference between those who rise and those who remain defeated is discipline. It is discipline that makes you practice again after losing. It is discipline that pushes you to keep applying after rejection. It is discipline that reminds you that every failure brings you one step closer to success. Over time, the person who embraces failure with discipline becomes unstoppable because nothing can permanently hold them back. Failure may slow them down, but discipline ensures they will never stop moving forward. That is how discipline conquers failure. It doesn't remove obstacles. It makes you strong enough to outlast them until victory is yours. Discipline leads to freedom because it creates control over your time, your habits, and your destiny. At first, discipline feels restrictive, like rules and limits that take away comfort. But over time, you realize that those very limits open the door to freedom. The person who disciplines themselves to wake up early gains more hours in the day to chase their goals. The one who disciplines their spending builds financial freedom while others stay trapped in debt. The person who disciplines their health earns the freedom of energy, strength, and longevity that those who live recklessly cannot enjoy. Discipline is the price you pay up front for the life you want later, and once it becomes part of who you are, it no longer feels like sacrifice. It feels like freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you feel like it, because that often leads to chaos, regret, and wasted potential. True freedom is the ability to live on your own terms, to have choices, and to create the future you desire. Discipline is what grants that power. The disciplined artist has the freedom to create masterpieces because they spent years practicing. The disciplined student has the freedom to pursue opportunities because they invested in learning. The disciplined worker has the freedom to rise in their career because they showed up consistently when others slacked off. Discipline is the invisible path that leads to visible freedom. Without discipline, life becomes a prison of impulses. You eat what you want, spend what you want, and do what you want in the moment. But eventually you become trapped by the consequences: poor health, financial stress, and unfulfilled dreams. Discipline frees you from those traps by forcing you to think long-term. It demands short-term sacrifice, but the reward is lasting independence. When you discipline yourself to build habits of consistency, focus, and resilience, you gain freedom from fear, freedom from regret, and freedom from being controlled by circumstance. The truth is, freedom and discipline are two sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without the other. Warning: the more disciplined you are with your actions today, the more freedom you will enjoy tomorrow. Every boundary you set for yourself now expands your opportunities later. Every disciplined choice becomes a step toward a life where you are no longer controlled by weakness or distraction, but guided by purpose. That is why discipline leads to freedom, because the chains of discipline are temporary, but the freedom it gives lasts forever. Discipline wins over everything because it is the foundation upon which greatness is built. Talent may shine for a moment, luck may open a few doors, and motivation may spark a beginning, but it is discipline that sustains the journey and carries you to the finish line. It builds consistency when motivation fades, it shapes character when no one is watching, it outlasts talent when natural gifts fall short, it breeds focus in a world of endless distractions. It conquers failure when setbacks try to hold you back, and ultimately, it gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. Discipline is not just about hard work. It is about transforming who you are into someone unstoppable, someone who doesn't just dream but acts, someone who doesn't just start but finishes, and someone who doesn't just hope for success but earns it. If there is one thing that separates those who rise from those who stay stuck, it is discipline. So as you step forward in your own journey, remember this: success is not built in giant leaps, it is built in disciplined steps taken every day, no matter how small they may seem. Stay consistent, stay focused, and stay disciplined, because that is how victories are won, that is how dreams are realized, and that is how you rise to your full potential. Thank you for listening. I wish you nothing but strength, growth, and the courage to stay disciplined in every season of life. Good luck on your journey, and may your discipline lead you to the success and freedom you deserve.